Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Roman with Pro Sports Analyst, and I have my second video for the top 32 quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and we have number 31 here with Mark Sanchez and Geno Smith, who's going to be starting. I'll get into that at the end of the video, but right now let's get into some stats for Mark Sanchez and then Geno Smith. So, Mark Sanchez, 4 years experience, number 6 quarterback for the New York Jets. He's been in the league since 2009. He has 4 years experience going into his 5th year. And, in 2009, when he came into the draft, I believe he was drafted in the first round, people had a lot of questions about him. He's from USC. Usually USC quarterbacks don't really produce a ton. Like, look at Matt Leinart. He didn't have the best career. Carson Palmer hasn't had the best career. He's in Arizona now, of course. Maybe he'll get things changed up there. And, Mark Sanchez came into the league. Like I said, we have tons of questions about him. Is he going to do well? Is he not going to do well? In stat-wise, his first season, he wasn't that great. He threw 12 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. Didn't have that great of a completion rate. Didn't really have a top receiver to throw to besides Braylon Edwards. And I forgot who the other receiver was. Dustin Keller, tight end. I mean, he didn't really have anyone to throw to, so he threw 12 touchdowns, 20 interceptions, had LaDainian Tomlinson in the backfield, which really helped, had a pretty good defense. And, what happened? His defense and his offense went to the AFC Championship game versus the Indianapolis Colts. And that season in 2009, I specifically called this, and I remember it till the day I die. I called in week 3 when the Jets were in New Orleans. The Jets were playing the Saints. They both scored 30 points or something. And I looked at my dad and my family. I was like, the Jets and Saints are going to play in the Super Bowl. Sure enough, the Saints made the Super Bowl. The Jets played the Colts, and the Jets came up just short by a field goal or a touchdown, I believe. And I was almost right. And then we go into his second season, threw 17 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and once again, didn't have the greatest stats, but he brought his team to the AFC Championship and performed well in the playoffs. They played the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs. In the AFC Championship game, came up just short, almost played the Packers in the Super Bowl. He also beat his rival, the New England Patriots, the 2 seed, or the 1 seed maybe. He beat the 1 seed New England Patriots in New England. So he's clearly a great playoff quarterback. He doesn't have the best stats during the regular season. He's a lot like an Eli Manning, Joe Flacco. Doesn't have the greatest regular season stats, but when it comes playoff time, he really shines. And then we get into his third season, didn't make the playoffs, but he had his best season stat-wise. He threw 26 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, big difference from 17 touchdowns to 13, 12 to 20, and they didn't make the playoffs. He started slacking off a bit. They brought in Santonio Holmes, though, during the offseason, and we were like, oh, man, Mark Sanchez, he's going to have someone to throw to now. This is going to be great. They should definitely make it to the Super Bowl, but they didn't. They missed the playoffs. Last season, probably his worst season, completion-wise, passer rating-wise. Threw 13 touchdowns, threw 18 interceptions, and we just didn't know what was going on. Rex Ryan benched him for a game, brought in McElroy for a game, and he was known for his infamous butt fumble. I'm not trying to take anything away from Mark Sanchez. He's a great quarterback. He has potential, but he's just not showing what he's perfectly capable of because his first 2 seasons were great. He averages 3,000 yards. This guy can be easily a top 10 quarterback. He averages 71.7 passer rating, and the only thing that's really stopping this guy right now is his offensive line. He has a lack of an offensive line, lack of a wide receiving core, and not that they brought in a couple players. They brought in Chris Ivory for the running back position from the New Orleans Saints, which I absolutely adore. I love that pick. I love that pickup during the offseason. Chris Ivory was over there in New Orleans with a bunch of running backs already as it is. Pierre Thomas, Mark Ingram, Darren Sproles, and so they brought in Chris Ivory to replace Sean Green, who's now at Tennessee. But the thing that's stopping Geno Smith is the sack total. His past 2 seasons, he's been sacked 30-plus times. In 2011, he was sacked for 39 times. Last season, he was sacked for 34 times. First 2 seasons, when he made it to the AFC Championship back-to-back seasons, he was sacked 26 and 27 times. So the sack total needs to be reduced. He needs to, get back into that form of throwing to a great receiver if Santonio Holmes stays healthy. And they just need to have a second receiver emerge, and they also need a tight end to emerge as well. So we're going to go get into Geno Smith here. Now, Geno Smith, number 7 quarterback for the New York Jets as of right now, number 12 for West Virginia, as you can see on screen. He had 4,205 yards passing in his final season at West Virginia. He had a 71.2% completion rate, and he had averaged 8 yards per attempt on throwing. And he was only sacked 19 times, which is very good. He threw 42 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Wow. Those are some numbers. People looked at him. This is the best quarterback in the draft. He's going to be drafted first overall by the Chiefs. And the Chiefs in the offseason go and get Alex Smith, which I also love that pick as well. So Geno Smith gets drafted second round, 9th overall. And he's like, what happened? I was supposed to be the best quarterback in the draft. I was the second quarterback drafted in the NFL. And the first quarterback was a surprising E.J. Manuel for the Buffalo Bills, 16th overall. And that really surprised me. I couldn't believe that. But Geno Smith, he can definitely play. He can definitely play in the NFL. He has a huge arm. He's a little inaccurate. He overthrew his receivers in West Virginia when Tavon Austin and Stedman Bailey were there. Now both of those 2 receivers are in St. Louis, and Geno Smith has a huge arm. I haven't really seen him run in any of the videos I've watched of him or any games I've watched him in. He doesn't really look like he's run. He only had 151 yards rushing last season in West Virginia. But he has a great arm. He's got great vision. He only threw 6 interceptions compared to 42 touchdowns. I believe his team, the West Virginia Mountaineers, are in the Big 12. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But he was great. He had 163.9 passer rating last season, which is great. So, Geno Smith, although he got drafted in the second round, he definitely can start week 1. I think he can start week 1. We're getting into training camp here in a couple days. Training camp will start for a couple teams like the Cowboys and the Saints, I believe. I don't know, a couple teams. But, training camp fully starts for every team in a few days. And in training camp, we'll really see more of what Geno Smith can do. And if Geno Smith can outdo Mark Sanchez, then I believe it'll be very difficult for Geno Smith his first year. He doesn't have a receiver that can stay healthy, Santonio Holmes. He doesn't have a second receiver to throw to. He has a running back, Chris Ivory, who I think is very underrated. He has no tight end. He has a defense that has a lot of question marks around it right now. And I think if Mark Sanchez or Geno Smith do start, they're going to have another, the Jets will have another tough season. But it looks like Mark Sanchez and Geno Smith, are really getting along. Mark Sanchez seems like he's tutoring Geno Smith a little bit. You can see them high-fiving on screen right now during OTA's offensive training something. I don't remember. But, it seems like they're really getting along. It seems like they're really, having a good time. Mark Sanchez teaching Geno Smith a few things. And I really want to see who emerges as a starting quarterback. Preseason starts in about 10 days or so, 12 days. And I'm really excited because this is probably the quarterback competition battle I'm most excited to see. A lot of people say the Eagles have the most exciting one, but Michael Vick will easily start for the Eagles and Chip Kelly's offense. And then you go to Oakland, you have Matt Flynn and Tyler Wilson. I think Matt Flynn's going to start week 1. Tyler Wilson, I don't think he's just completely ready yet. But this one is the most exciting to watch because we don't know who's going to start immediately for this team, whether it be Geno Smith or Mark Sanchez. We don't really know. But to me, Mark Sanchez will start the season. And that's only if Geno Smith somehow gets injured. God forbid he gets injured. That's only if Geno Smith gets injured or if he doesn't perform well in the preseason. Although it is only preseason, if Geno Smith doesn't come out and produce as much as Mark Sanchez does during the preseason, Mark Sanchez will get that starting job in week 1. But let's say Mark Sanchez starts week 1. I believe by week 6, between week 3 and week 6, Geno Smith jumps in and starts. I just don't think Mark Sanchez is going to have a year he had his first 2 seasons. It's not going to be exactly similar to last season, Mark Sanchez just needs to make better decisions. He needs to throw the ball away when he's getting ready to get sacked instead of forcing the ball downfield and throwing an interception. And plus, the defense needs to step up. It's not all on Mark Sanchez. I understand nowadays, people are always blaming the quarterback for the team's problems. But think about it: without Mark Sanchez, maybe the team would have only had 2 wins last season compared to 5-11. Another example, probably the best example. Look at Tony Romo. Everybody says he sucks. I'm not saying this because I'm a Cowboys fan. Everyone looks at Tony Romo and says that he sucks. But if you look at Tony Romo, that team would not even ever have a chance of making it to the playoffs at all. Every season they have a chance of making it to the playoffs, and the defense slacks off. It's not all on Tony Romo. Yeah, I know Tony Romo does not have the clutch factor like a Matt Ryan or a Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. If I don't really want to get into Tony Romo too much, but Tony Romo is a great example. Defense needs to step up. Without Tony Romo, they would be a 6-win team, 5-win team instead of 8-8, 9-7, 10-6, 11-5. So Geno Smith, the team can be a 7-win team. I don't think they'll have a 7-win team this season. I think they'll be 4-12, 5-11 again, 3-13, 6-10, somewhere right around that range. If you know what I'm getting at. They won't have a 500 record. I think this team is in the rebuilding process for sure. Mark Sanchez just doesn't look like he's playing like his first 2 seasons, and then Geno Smith is coming in as a rookie. So I just think it's going to be very difficult for the Jets this year. If you're a Jets fan, I apologize. I'm not hating on the Jets. I don't have any hatred towards any team in the NFL. I just think it's going to be a very tough season. You guys are rebuilding. You guys need to draft more receivers. You don't need a running back. Chris Ivory's great if he stays healthy. You need more defensive players. You need a corner. You need a safety. You need a lineman. You need a linebacker. You're missing out on a few key players. Your offensive line needs to step it up and needs to protect Mark Sanchez, Geno Smith, whoever's starting, and then you guys should be okay. But yeah, by week 1, Mark Sanchez will be starting unless Geno Smith produces more in the preseason and training camp than Mark Sanchez does. So yeah, Mark Sanchez, 31st ranked quarterback on this list. The title will say Mark Sanchez or Geno Smith, but I just believe Mark Sanchez will be starting by week 1, and then Geno Smith will step in from week 3 to 6, 4 to 6, somewhere around there. But definitely by week 6, Geno Smith will be starting. So like the video, favorite the video, comment, tell me what you think. Who do you think is the 31st ranked quarterback in the NFL? Do you think it's Geno Smith? Do you think it's Mark Sanchez, Matt Flynn, Carson Palmer? Tell me who you think. Down in the comments below, subscribe, favorite, and in the description below, I'll lead you over to another channel that I'm in, working with Pro Football Exclusive with Justin, and I'll lead you guys over there to go subscribe as well. We're putting out great content. We have team previews right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, favorite, subscribe. I have more videos to come within the next few days. Hope you guys enjoy. Have a great day.